Hello everyone, Lore Master of Sotek here, and it's finally here. They have finally released a... I haven't read it yet. I'm literally reading this live, but I have about, as you can see, I've got a ton of messages on Discord, and I kind of opened it as I was waking up today and saw someone had posted the link, and I was like, nope, not reading any messages, because I didn't want anybody to spoil it for me. So I'm going to be reading over the article now, live here, with you all joining me. So together we will go through this and see what Games Workshop has planned for Warhammer the Old World. I'll admit I'm a little nervous, but I hope it's going to be good. There's been a lot of bad news coming out from Games Workshop the last few days, so I would not mind a bit of good news. I will, of course, be making a video to address a lot of the stuff going on with Games Workshop as far as like their new copyright policy. Well, not new, but they've kind of updated it, and what's been going on with like their animations and everything, but we'll worry about that for that video. Without further ado, let's jump into it. So, the last time we saw Warhammer the Old World stuff, we were looking at the map of Bretonnia to figure out when the game was taking place. We've also seen Kislev before, and now we're going to be checking in with Andy Hror, who is apparently the lead on the project. So this is the updated map. So the updated map looks like we still have... let's see if I can look at this. So we've got... Oh yeah, it is big time updated. So there are way more... So we've got dwarfs accurately shown in a couple places. We've got the Norskin dwarves. Over here we've got oh gosh, I want to say that's one of the what does that dwarf hold? It's in Total War Warhammer. I think that's Karak Vlag, which seems to be portrayed on the map. I wish they wouldn't make it so tiny. Like, I know we all want to look at it. They know we all want to look at it. But everything's just really itty-bitty. But it looks like they have... Oh, they've added Beastman tribes. So you can see Beastman tribes now. Larlorn Forest is represented. Athel Lorn's represented. We've got the Forest of Arden Elves represented. They've got Beastmen all over the Empire. Don't see any Beastmen in Bretonnia right now. Of course, we've seen that they're not... It doesn't look like they're starting with Ulthuan in the game, but they are starting with High Elves, because we got the High Elf symbol here, as well as a dragon ship, and they've got a new High Elf tower here, a new High Elf tower here, and then it looks like maybe one more over here. We got Bretonnia everywhere, we got the Empire everywhere. It looks like they've added a bunch of cities on the map, because most of this space here was empty, but I can't really see a lot of this right now, because they're still keeping the text really, really tiny. And they've added greenskins all over the place. So last time they showed us the Bretonnia map, they were like, hey, look, lots and lots of greenskins around the Pale Sisters in Bretonnia, but now they've added them to all the mountains. So we see they're in the all the mountains that are relevant right now, at least. So we see they're really big in the Black Mountains, and then all across the World's Edge Mountains, just tons and tons of greenskins, and then leading out to the Plain of Zar, where the Chaos Dwarfs are, and Zorn Uzkul, where the Chaos Dwarfs also are. Though it looks like right now it's just Kislevite stuff that we have on the map. No Chaos Dwarfs yet. But very busy map. And of course we do have all of the Norskin tribes labeled as well. They don't have symbols, but their the names of all the tribes are on here. So it's going to be very interesting. I'm guessing this is going to be the starting map for when Warhammer the Old World drops. It's going to start with like just this, just the Old World, and then they'll go from there. But you know, we'll see. Anyway, let's get back to it. Oop, oh gosh, zoom out. There we go. All right. So the latest revelation concerns the icy nation of Kislev, a country of stoic human warriors and cunning elemental sorcerers. Kislev has ever stood as a bulwark against the incursions from the wildlands further north. whether that be the incessant raids of ravening Norscan tribes or the all-consuming incursions of the hordes of chaos. Those who have studied the previous mass updates will no doubt have discerned that the Empire is riven by civil war, with no one emperor or empress uniting the Elector States, and so the Kislevites' role is even more vital to the defense of the entire old world. Yep, because Magnus has not popped up just yet. Students of the Warhammer lore will also note that the borders of Kislev are very different from what they may be familiar with. The eastern border here is not defined by the World's Edge Mountains, but in fact through the Belia Volta Pass, through the Great Skull Lands, the northernmost reaches of the Darklands, through the Mountains of Morn, and out into the limitless expanses of the eastern steppes beyond. Clearly, at this time, Kislev is a vast empire indeed. Its territories encompassing lands said to be haunted by hobgoblins, centaurs, and half-orcs. What the hell is a half-orc? Though who can say which of these, if any, are true? Okay, so we may be seeing some new races added to the game. And also, if we look at this map, there's a new symbol up here, which is like a skull with, like, lightning or maybe feathers or something, but we've got like a skull with something coming out of the top of it in these mountains. And like it looks like a maybe there's Uzkalak. Uzkalak is right there. So we've got Uzkalak. Is that Uzkalak? It seems way further north than it should be. The Dark Citadel seems like a Chaos Dwarf base. That looks like it does. That looks like 100% it says Uzkalak. So no, I think that does line up actually. Okay, so we've probably got Chaos Dwarfs. Interesting. Centaurs and half-orcs. I wonder if by centaurs they mean like an actual new race of creatures known as centaurs, or if they're talking about centaurs. Because there aren't any true centaurs in the OG fantasy universe, but they may be, with us expanding into like actual new territory way up here into the eastern steppes. There's totally potential to see new things. We've put out a couple updates on the progress of the development of Warhammer the Old World setting now. We're keeping a close eye on the responses in social media. All manner of theories have been presented about the setting and the game set within it, and while some are preternaturally insightful, some are as far off as the mark as a drunken snotling attempting to bullseye a hobhound with a catapult launch puffball. What the hell is a hobhound? So it sounds like there's probably going to be... Man, it sounds like there's probably going to be a lot of new stuff. Alright, just to clear a few things up, here's what's to come. Bases, round or square? Okay, so we know it's square. They announced that when they first announced the game. So many people were so stupid about it. I saw so many people being like, oh, they didn't say they were doing square bases. It's like literally the very first time they teased this game, they said they're doing square bases. Literally the very first thing they announced. So definitely square. Regiments move in ranked up units and strategic maneuvering into positions to launch or receive a critical charge will be as much a key part of the game as it ever was. Great. So it sounds like the core fundamentals of movement and unit designs are staying the same. The scale, 10mm or 15mm. What? No! What madness is that? The scale will remain the same as it ever was. We want people to be able to use their old armies if they wish, or to start new ones, or add new miniatures to old armies. Woo! Okay! Woo! That's sexy. Ooh! Ooh, that is sexy. Man, there's so many people I told you so after this. There are so many people I have to you told you so after this. Thank God they're not going to tiny scale. I know there were some people out there that wanted it to go War Master scale, because I guess maybe they felt it would let us represent larger armies, but I hate that. Like, the minis are just so bad looking. You just can't... I've never seen a mini for 10 or 15mm scale that looked good. They always looked like trash. Like, no offense, but like, I was never impressed with War Master armies. I thought they always looked awful because they're just so tiny you can barely... fit any details, and you couldn't really effectively use them for anything else. Like, one thing I really love about Age of Sigmar and Warhammer Fantasy Minis is, yeah, they're really good for those games, and you can get a lot of details, and they look really cool, but they're also perfectly sized for, like, D&D games and stuff, and other settings or tabletop games, which I really, really enjoy. Rules, totally new or 8th edition? Both! We've played every single edition of Warhammer Fantasy Battles over the years, and like every player, we have our favorite bits from each. The Old World will gather up all of our favorite mechanics from 3rd edition to 8th edition, and add new elements where needed to create something deeply familiar, yet fresh and new. Interesting. So, okay, so it sounds like it's gonna be mostly old rules, but the amount the rules change from 3rd to 8th, the game is almost like unrecognizably different, to the point that, for instance, if I go back and I'm reading like 5th edition books, I can understand the game, but there are elements of it I can't, because it's so wildly different. And that's like, I don't even own a 3rd edition book. I don't have a single thing from 3rd edition. So for me, this basically means expect nothing, because this could literally mean anything. I personally, what I'm expecting is they're probably going to be bringing out the movement system from the later editions, unless they came up with like a more sophisticated version. But the movement is probably the most critical system. Everything else, it's like whatever. Like, they can do, as long as it's fun, they can do whatever they want for magic or shooting or combat or leadership, and psychology and all that stuff. I will say personally, I hope the rules stay more complex, not less complex. One of the biggest things I miss about Warhammer Fantasy, when playing Age of Sigmar, is I genuinely miss a lot of the more complicated rule systems. Like, I really miss psychology. I used to really like having all those crazy different rules of like stupidity and panic and fear versus terror, and like stubbornness and all that stuff. But we'll have to see just how complicated the rules are going to be. But, you know, at the same time, I fully admit that the rules in fantasy could be too much for new players. So maybe they're going to want to try and do something more like Age of Sigmar, where the core rules are like 20 pages-ish, and then all the individual units introduce more rules. That way, like, it's basically as complicated, but the rules are more spread out, so you don't need to know all of them. You just need to know like a fairly straightforward core rule system, and then all of the other rules are just for your faction. But I'm super okay with this. I'm glad that the rules are not completely new, personally. I'm super glad that it seems to be like they're going to try and bring back the rules that they feel are really, really good. Hopefully they pick ones that the community agrees with. But I mean, this doesn't really tell anything. But let's keep going. Orcs or Oruks? The boys was called orcs in the old world, so that's what they's called. Good. Good. No Oryx in fantasy. No Oryx in fantasy, and it's orc with a C. It's orc with a C. Good. The setting. What about the old world's ending? Keen-eye observers will have gleaned by now that Warhammer the Old World is going to be set several hundred years before the end time, so there's plenty of space to explore the history of the setting. Especially knowledgeable students may note this also puts us just before another calamitous chaos invasion, one which will, while central to the story of the Empire and the entire world, was barely touched on in the previous iterations. Yes! Okay, so they're pretty much 100% confirming that they're going to be focusing on the Great War, which was basically World War I. Very, very excited. Are you sure it's going to be square? Yes. Release date. It's going to be quite some time yet, as we work on making sure this is the best version of the game we all love. We'll give you more updates at some point here in the Warhammer community when the time is right. Until then, employ the patience of Nagash and plot your return to the old world. Oh no. Oh no. Nagash had to wait for like Oh God, how long was? I think Nagash was dead for like 666 years before he came back. Oh no. um. Okay. Uh. Oh, look at that! First and to some extent, second editions were more of a role-playing game with miniatures than a tabletop war game, with Warhammer Fantasy Battle as we know it only truly being born to the world with its third edition. Yeah, that's fair. Okay, I mean, honestly, I'm excited. I'm really excited. I don't see anything in here that is particularly spooky to me. It does seem undeniable that there are going to be some lots of new units. I think with the hobgoblins, centaurs, and half orcs, I think what we're honestly going to see is I think we're probably have a very high chance to see the hobgoblin Khanate vastly expanded. I think that they're gonna legit go to the Eastern Steppes, and with us going to the Eastern Steppes, to me that seems to heavily signify that we're probably going to see. I don't know if they're going to be part of the Chaos Dwarfs or if they're going to be their own standalone roster, but to me it seems like we're probably going to see a lot of new types of greenskins. I don't know if they're going to be. I don't expect that they're going to share a roster with the orcs and goblins. So, like, I'm expecting it to be orcs and goblins are here, and then up here you're going to have your hobgoblins, half orcs, and who knows what else. I am very, very interested in a lot of the new units that they kind of hint at. With the centaurs, half orcs, and hobhounds. Hobhound, I mean, a hobhound is definitely hobgoblin related. To me, this seems like they are heavily hinting at a vastly expanded hobgoblin range. Where what I'm expecting is I'm expecting there to be hobgoblins. I'm expecting there to be like biggins among the hobgoblins that are so big that they're called half orcs. Where instead of it just being you've got hobgoblins and that's it, I think that large enough hobgoblins, because hobgoblins are specifically noted as being taller than orcs, but not, or sorry, taller than goblins, but not as burly as orcs. I'm expecting that they're going to come out and say, okay, so when a hobgoblin gets big and bad enough, they become known as a half orc because they're like, they're like half the size of an orc or something like that, or they're halfway on that scale between a normal goblin and a normal orc or something along those lines. And then a hobhound just sounds like some kind of hobgoblin dog. So maybe like a warhound that they use, or some kind of unique variant of the squig that's unique to the hobgoblin, culture / physiology. And then the centaurs, I have no idea what the centaurs could be. I remember there used to be some lore, I think, about how I think it was the Hung or the Kurgan, but I think there used to be some like legends about how there were some chaos marauders from the east that were so used to being in the saddle all the time, and like never left their saddles or anything, that they were like mistaken for centaurs sometimes, or like they were called centaurs by other cultures, but I'm not really sure. I'm wondering if this symbol of the skull with all the little things coming out of the top, I wonder if that's like a hobgoblin symbol. But we'll have to see. I will say I'm super excited. The thing that makes me super excited is that you get to use your old minis. The confirmation that we can use our old minis makes me so happy. Like, it's actually going to be worth my time. That's a huge reward for all of us old fantasy players that did not rebase our minis for Age of Sigmar. I am so glad I did not rebase my minis. Especially because you can literally just buy the Age of Sigmar minis are without exception larger than the fantasy minis. So you can literally just buy these little circles that your fantasy minis will just slot right into. But so now that I'm looking at one of my minis, I realize that means I need to figure out a way to get my Genuine model like to. I'll figure it out later. I'm gonna have to like buy a square base for him and like put it underneath him, and just like have him run around on the table with that. But anyway, um, I'm super excited. I am really, really excited. I am about to have to spend a lot of time and a lot of money restoring old minis. Like, a lot of my minis have kind of fallen apart over the years or because of bad storage and stuff. But I'm super duper excited. I think this is really good news. Everything that they've talked about so far is really great. I am personally, I'm not expecting them to announce a release date for this for at least another year, at minimum. Like I think they're gonna want to try and get a release date out by the time Total War Warhammer 3 is announced. But I'm expecting Total War Warhammer 3, which I am making a video on. You can see I've got kind of this thing up here. But I'm personally expecting Total War Warhammer 3 to get pushed back. Because there's just no way. There's no way they're gonna announce a release date for it this year. Especially with them not talking about it again until September. So, which I'm totally okay with. In fact, I encourage it. So, like with Total War Warhammer 3 not dropping until next year, at the earliest. Well, definitely next year, but probably like next spring. I hope around then we can get a release date for this game. But the biggest thing this confirms for me is I think this is the new map. I think that they're going to start with this map and they're going to fill it out. I don't know if they're going to give us Talea and Estalia. Talea is only kind of mostly on the map. But I think they're probably going to announce like Skaven, and then, dwarfs, chaos dwarfs, and I don't know what they're going to do with the ogres. The ogres don't fit on this map. But they might just kind of introduce like there are some tribes in the World's Edge Mountains that they could throw out. But yeah, I'm excited. There's a lot more still to fill in on this map. There are a lot of empty places on the map. It seems like the big colored symbols represent the starting playable races. But I'm fully expecting them to add Norska as a standalone race, personally. And then we'll probably see Warriors of Chaos, dwarves, vampire counts, and I don't know what they're going to do with the Southern Realms. I would love to see the Southern Realms added. They might wait for a bit before they do that, but we'll have to see. That's going to be it for me on this particular video. I'm super excited for Warhammer the Old World. I am much more excited now for Warhammer the Old World than I was before I read this. I am feeling extremely optimistic about this game now. The only thing that's left up in the air that I'm kind of like, ooh, I'm a little spooked about knowing about it is what exactly the rules will be. I'm not personally, I know people are going to ask this. Personally, I'm not that worried about the lore. I'm really not. For me, kind of the thing is that the lore that I specialize in and really deeply love and will continue to tell stories about is 8th edition fantasy. Like kind of that modernish timeline, and everything that led up to it. This seems like it may change a lot of things so that it makes the world different enough where it can't necessarily land back in the same place, and that's okay. This will just be another alternate timeline. I mean, if you study Warhammer Fantasy and you make videos about it and you talk about it, there's already like at minimum like 3 or 4 timelines. Where you have like I have a timeline that focuses on like going the campaign that led to the Nemesis Crown incident. I have a timeline that does the Storm of Chaos. I have a timeline that does the End Times. So honestly, I'm not that worried about it. To me, it's just business as usual. So I am very, very excited to see all this. I'm really, really curious about a lot of things, and I hope it's good. And I'm really, really glad that they're going to be encouraging people to use their old minis in addition to the new minis, because that gives me a lot better hope that they'll at least have some rules for all the races from old Warhammer Fantasy in addition to the new armies when the base game drops. I do think it'd be a little unfortunate if they came out and they were like, oh hey, here's all the races that are new and the model ranges. For those of you that don't get models yet, hopefully it's a yet, but they're like, oh, if you're a Lizardman player, here are the Lizardman rules, and then one day the world will expand to include the Lizardman. Or hey, if you're a Dark Elf player, here are the Dark Elf rules, even if you're not on the starting map. That way you can at least use your old minis to like play games. I do hope the world expands. In my opinion, the Great War, which is what this whole situation is leading up to, the Great War was a worldwide event. The Lizardmen were probably the only race that weren't really up to anything. Like, they were involved in the Great War, but it was like the Slawn were casting magic from Lustria to help. But everybody else was fighting. Everybody else was fighting and punching each other in the face and doing a whole bunch of stuff. And Ulthuan, which is not on this map, Ulthuan was a huge battleground between the High Elves and the Dark Elves. So, and Chaos, actually. Chaos also participated quite largely in that fight. So hopefully, I'm hoping at minimum Ulthuan gets added to this map before the timeline, or before the storyline actually starts advancing, so we can actually get like a playable Battle of Finneval Plain, where you have like Teclis versus Malekith, and Tyrion versus like Urian Poisonblade, and like all those really crazy fights, and all that stuff. But that's going to be it for me today, guys. Thanks so much for watching. I'm really excited to talk about this. I will be putting out a video about Total War Warhammer 3's announcements and stuff tomorrow. Just because, you know, I'm not in a huge rush to get that out, because we're not going to hear anything for a while. And I'll see you guys then. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!